welcome to Yoga with Sarah Ford. I'm Sarah Ford, and today in our beginner series we are going to be covering downward facing dog. And so we're going to get right into the position here. There are many ways to get into downward facing dog, and in this video we're just going to go from tabletop into downward facing dog. So we're going to get on our hands and knees. In this classic pose, we're going to have our toes tucked under our feet. We're going to take a nice inhale here. And on our exhale, we're going to press through our feet, lifting our hips to the sky, straightening the legs, and then using your hands to press your heart closer to your chest. And so this is downward facing dog. Thinking about your feet and their proximity, you can play with their distance. A typical downward facing dog, your feet are pretty close together, but you get different stretches if you place them a little bit farther apart to the outside of your mat. So it's something to play with. But in this pose, it opens up your feet, it opens up your hamstrings, and strengthens your shoulders and stretches your arms. So there's a lot going on here. And because we're inverted, our heart is above our head, we're reversing the blood flow, so there's just a lot happening in a pose that is both soothing and also very active, and people feel differently about this pose. So there's going to be different things affecting this pose. One is the flexibility of your hamstrings and how loose they are. So one modification you can take if your hamstrings are a bit tight, particularly at the beginning of a practice, having an extra bend in your knees is okay. And still continuing to use, pushing through your hands, activating the shoulders to just bring your heart closer to your thighs. It's okay if your knees are bent. You can also walk one knee out at a time, just bending one after the other to warm up the hamstrings at the beginning of a practice. Another modification you can take is to lessen the intensity is to step your feet farther away from your hands toward the back of your mat. So it's a little bit of a wider downward facing dog. And that kind of eases up on the intensity. So if you're looking for a deeper stretch, you want to bring your feet a little bit closer. And the main point of this is we're thinking about our hips, our lower half of our body and our upper half of the body coming into this point that's right at your pelvis, sticking up, pointing up towards the ceiling. And that's the goal of the pose, but it takes a lot of flexibility and time to get to that position, and that's okay. And so this is downward facing dog. To come out, you can lower your knees to the ground. You can take a child's pose if you'd like, and then slowly come up. So that is a downward facing dog. It's a very common pose that you use in between more activated full body poses. So thank you so much for joining me today. And if you'd like to take any live online classes with me, I'll have the link below where you can sign up. And you can also find me on Instagram at Yoga with Sarah Ford. And thanks again for joining me. I hope you have a lovely week, and namaste.